Hello and welcome to the Home Practice Challenge. We are on day 108 and according to my little whiteboard that I have here, we've still not got to the same cases as on day 100. I may be missing something here, but I think maybe not. So today is our deep dive today. Today is the day where we're going to look at one pose, we're going to look at it in detail, and we're going to look at ways that you can adapt it so that it can be really beneficial to you and the different variations that you can use. We're going to do Parsvottansana, lovely one. It means intense side stretch. It's one of the few poses where I like the Sanskrit much more than our version, if you like, because intense side stretch just doesn't really explain it at all. It's a step forwards and leaning forwards. That's it, really. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by looking at different ways to modify it so that you can really feel what is going to be working best for your body. So it's so important. I would suggest trying each of these and go, okay, how does it feel? So to start with, you're going to bring yourself just to normal standing. So from normal standing, we'll take a step forward, which might be a natural step that you might take walking down the street when you're feeling slightly confident. So not a little tiny shuffly one, but just a natural step forward. Both feet sink down and onto the ground, hands rest onto the back of the body, and then shoulders lift up and forwards. So we get a feeling of lengthening up through the front leg into the front hip. And that draws the hip up and round so that the back of the pelvis stays nice and even. And then we're going to press down through your feet to bring yourself back up to standing. So we're going to now start to look at some variations. One of the things that you might want to consider is when we come forwards, so from a step forward, sometimes this happens. So we think we've come over evenly, but you can see from my pelvis that it's very uneven. So often that's why we have to lengthen into the front leg to bring the back of the pelvis to nice and even. And really helpful if you have a little look in the mirror to see that for yourself, because sometimes it's hard to tell when we're living in our body and our habits. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take just a little tiny step forwards and do the same thing. So just take yourself a wee small step. You can be watching this or you can be doing it with me. Again, hands rest onto the back of your body. Lean yourself up and forwards. So there's much less work going on through the legs. The pelvis is much easier to remain stable or to remain horizontal or even. But the kind of benefits, some of the benefits are in taking that longer step. So press down through your feet, bring yourself up. So it might be that if your pelvis is unstable or if it just feels too much through the legs, that the shorter step is better. Another option is to take a much deeper step, so a much longer step, so much wider than you would take walking down the street. Shoulders relax down and away, and again bring yourself up and forwards. Really work by lifting up and through the front leg, up and into the hip, whilst we stay down through that front foot. So you'll notice far more feelings of aliveness in your legs. There's more going on through the back of the pelvis and the legs. And almost in some ways, it can become easier because we're doing less leaning forwards with the chest and the upper body compared to what's going on with the legs. So it's all a little bit of a balance here. So from here, press down through your feet, lift yourself back up. Another option that works for some people is we're working with fairly straight legs. You can have your legs just a tiny touch soft so that you're aware of that little bit of movement through the legs as you come forward, so that you become more aware of that kind of fluid connection through the legs and into the hips. So that's another option. And the other option is to really bend the knees, and this can be helpful if there's lower back issues or if it just feels better for you for whatever reason. So from just a natural step, that you can really, really bend the knees and slide your weight forwards. So we get a feeling of extending back through the tailbone, and then there's almost a lifting up and through the tummy. So we've got a kind of two-way movement through the body. The legs can remain very active, but for some people this is going to be working better than the straighter leg versions. Down through the feet, you're going to bring yourself back up. Another nice option is to have your step forward and then to lift through your toes. So sometimes it depends on the body and the stories in your body, but sometimes we're lifting the toes, we get more feeling of aliveness through the legs, more support through the legs as we come forwards, so that it can bring a feeling of more almost support from within the body. So you can just let yourself come forwards this way. Another option is to keep your shoulders high. So keep high, so we keep the shoulders extending down, and we're just working with the starting movement of up and through the legs and into the pelvis. So these modifications are all about just working out, okay, how does it feel for me? And you might find, oh right, gosh, when I come onto this side, it's different. And if it's different, okay, how does this side want to move? Does it want the knee a little bit more bent? Does it want to need even more lengthening up through the hip to find that evenness? So it's really important we're working with all the different variations within our body and working towards that kind of unification of the two sides, the left and the right. But we're working in a way where we are kind to ourselves. What we're going to look at now is ways that you can adapt and vary the pose so that on different days you can be doing something different. And it might be that you need to modify it differently on different days, but we're going to look at those different options just now. So from a steady standing position, you can have your hands on the top of your thighs. And as your shoulders come forward, you can just let your hands slide down your legs. For this one, get the feeling that you're spreading out and across the shoulder blades and then down through the hands and the legs. So the shoulder blades are moving also down the back of the body towards your waist. Press down through your feet, bring yourself up and standing. A nice option that we can use in Parsvottansana is taking the hands onto the back of the pelvis. So you just let the hands spread onto the back of the pelvis, almost like you can feel like you're pressing in with your hands a little, and there's a movement out of the elbows. And from that 1 foot forwards position, we can just bring ourselves up and forward using the hands in this position. It's a nice way to stay connected to the lower back and stay connected to that kind of pivoting movement that we've got through the lower back, and that's what's bringing us forwards. It can also be a nice way to stay focused on how is your lower back, what's it feeling, what's it telling you. Press down through your feet to bring yourself up. Bring yourself to standing. Nice option with Parsvottansana is to just taking the hands in towards the chest. So that from the hands in towards the chest, we sink up and forwards. So lengthening up through that front leg in particular, steady down through the back heel. So we're getting that lovely feeling of life coming up through the legs and then sinking down. So it's almost like we're drawing in to keep the life steady within us whilst we expand out and beyond. Press down through your feet to bring yourself up. From here, the next option is to take your hands behind your back. So you can have the hands facing down, the heels of the hands can face down, fingers can point up, and we can think about bringing the hands up the back of the body and shoulders roll slightly forwards so that we can come into Parsvottansana with the hands in prayer pose at the back. So that again we're lifting up and forwards over the front leg is lengthening up and into that hip. The feet stay steady and down on the ground. Ideally looking for a neutral connection with the chin, so that instead of looking forward, you're going to be looking towards the edge of your mat, so we've got a length through the back of the neck. And then press down through your feet to bring yourself up and back to standing, so back to settled feet. Another option I quite like is taking hands overhead. This one, be very, very mindful. If there's been any lower back issues, I'd say no. Keep the hands here. Because as soon as we lift the hands up, we're bringing extra weight to the upper half of the body. We're increasing the load. So it's so important that you're only doing this if your lower back is usually stable for you. So you could be letting the hands come off overhead. Shoulders can sink down the back of the body, and then you can lean forward with the arms lengthened out. That's one option. Another option is hands come up and overhead, hands sink down and onto your head, and elbows come wide. And then from here again, you just lean yourself up and forwards. There's less load with this one, which is quite good. Press down through the feet, bring yourself all the way up and out to standing. Another one that's not in the book that I wanted to pop in is using a chair. It's a really nice way of settling yourself. So you take a step forwards, and in fact my chair should be a little bit closer. So if you have your chair around the area of your toes, so you can bring yourself forwards and you can let your hands rest onto the chair. So it could be up on fingertips, it could be on the heels of your hands. Again, you're going to sink back and into the back heel, slide the hips back and away from you, shoulders come away. And this way, because we've got the upper body supported, we can really focus on what needs to happen in the legs to start to let the body really find its way. And then as you get more confident, we can get a little bit lighter, and then we could move off this way. Or you might just find that this is a really good way to work, to really connect with the links between your feet, the hips, and then this forward bending. And then you'd walk yourself in towards your chair to bring yourself back up. Last little one that we're going to do is a kind of arching forwards and back. So from your step forwards, you could do it on the chair, which is a nice place to start. We're going to be arching the back up like we're doing cat pose, and then lengthening out. And you're going to start to allow that flow of movement to come up through the spine. So from the pelvis, up through the back of the waist, the back of the rib cage, to the neck, the head. And then obviously this could be done with your hands on the back of your body or on your thighs as well. So from a comfortable position for you, in fact I'm going to move this a little bit, because another option, again depending on your body and whether this feels good for you, is from your forward bending position, so you're leaning forwards, that you actually bring your head down towards the floor and then arch back up. So that we're dipping down and up. So it needs a feeling of awareness through the legs and through the hips so that this remains a supportive and good place for you to be. Remembering whenever you're bringing your shoulders up, really press into the feet so that we activate the legs to bring ourselves back up to standing, and we get that feeling of lift and life coming through the body. So that's been our little bit of Parsvottansana for the day. We're going to do just a little bit of breathing just now. So just let yourself settle somewhere comfy and just come back to the breath. We're not going to do the breathing practice that we're doing when we do a little 10 minutes of traditional, but just bring yourself back to that awareness of your breath just now, so that you're coming back to just noticing your inhale, noticing your exhale, noticing your inhale whenever it comes, however it comes, noticing your exhale. So my challenge for you today is to go out and see if you can feel and listen to the earth with your feet. There's some lovely quotes which I've not got in my head at the moment about how the feet connect to the ground and what's beneath the ground, and the connection of the earth as a kind of living organism, I suppose, in some ways. And certainly I love the feeling of, like what's beneath us, what is the earth we walk on, and can we connect to what is deep beneath the earth, that energy from within the centre. And your quote for today is one of my favourites. This is from Rilke. Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. It's a very long quote, but it's definitely one of my favourites because, I'm so good on questions and wanting answers. And it's such a good practice to try and let go of the answers. So here's your quote again. Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves. Like locked rooms and like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given to you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. So I hope you have a day of living.